like the moon's been full for one whole week, and I can't keep my mind off of you. Normally don't take girls that smoke cigarettes, but I don't seem to care if you do. When I see you dance in a elaborate dress, hey, I'm drawn to the way that you move. I'll do anything you ask of me, babe. I'm always playing a fool. Haven't been around here in almost a year, but of course I still remember you. You got a smiling face, puts a grin on mine, and brightens up my blues. Take me to your car, show me your guitar, ask me if I'll sing along too. I'll do anything you ask of me, babe. I'm always playing a fool. I will let you know my number. Just call me when you're feeling down. If you're looking for a friend or a lover, you know I could be around. You know I could be around. Like the moon's been full for one whole week, and I can't keep my mind off you. I normally don't date girls that smoke cigarettes, but I don't seem to care if you do. When I see you dancing in that red dress, hey, I'm drawn to the way that you move. I'll do anything you ask of me, babe. I'm always playing a fool. I'll do anything you ask of me, babe. I'm always playing the fool.
Amazing, Bryan. Amazing, as always. So good to have you with us.
Glad to be back. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to do these events and to get onto the Zoomosphere and see everybody from all over. So it's always a treat. Thanks again.
Thank you.
That was a tune called Playing the Fool off of a recording project that I started way back in 2019, and I've had a lot of life things happen since then that have kind of starts and stops. And then, of course, the great pause of 2020, as we call it, that put some things in there. So, but I hope to get back to work on that. But so that one's not out just yet, but I'll play you a few more just a little later that are available. So.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, we'll be hearing a lot more from Bryan during our poetry readings tonight. He's our musical interlude during our wonderful event. So welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you join us for the Walking with Whitman of 2021. So we will be back next year, but this is the last one for our 11th year. And so my name is Caitlin Shea. I am the Events and Media Director for Walt Whitman Birthplace Association. And if you are not familiar with us just yet, we are a museum located in Huntington, New York, where you can tour the house that Walt Whitman was born in 202 years ago. So you can join us in person to do that. And you can join us for our virtual events, just like you are doing here tonight. I always want to start every single event by saying thank you so much to everyone who is able to donate. Even something small like $5 actually adds up when you multiply it with all the people that we're meeting and reaching, not just nationally now, but internationally. It means so much to us. So any amount that you're able to donate, it really means a lot. Thank you so much for that. All right. And I do want to say a lot of people were asking about the open mic. So to participate in the later portion of our open mic, if you're in the audience here tonight, what you're going to do is write your name in the chat, and then I'm going to compile a list and we'll go through that list later on in our program. So please start doing that now, and I'll be looking for all those names. And if you are joining us for the first time, it is a very exciting program. So I'm happy that you found us and you're here tonight. I also just want to quickly say, please stay muted. I know, it's exciting. We have a lot of poets. We want to clap for every single poet as soon as they finish every single poem. But for now, the best way to show how excited you are is to clap right at the camera. I know that everyone loves seeing that. And then I'll let you know when you can unmute and you can give the big round of applause for our poets and our musician, Bryan Gallo. All right, so we're going to jump in and I'm going to introduce George Wallace. George Wallace is the writer-in-residence for Walt Whitman Birthplace Association for 11 years. He came up with this program, Walking with Whitman, 11 years ago. He's a internationally and nationally renowned poet. He brings us the best local and international poets for all 11 years. And we're so happy to have him also virtually. We've been able to make this program even bigger. So let's welcome George Wallace. I'm going to hand it over to you, George.
Right. Thank you, Caitlin Shea. Welcome addition to the Whitman Birthplace. How many years have you been here now, Caitlin?
A little more than 2.5, something like that.
2.5 great years. That's really an accomplishment. I want to congratulate you on that, because we have a lot of people circulate through that job of yours, and some of them do a great job, some of them do an okay job. But Caitlin, you're, as far as I'm concerned, you're doing the best job ever, as an events coordinator for the birthplace. So I want to thank you for all you do and how you've made, dimensionally, you've made the Whitman Birthplace a very effective operation, working with Cynthia Short, the executive director. So thank you for that. Thank you to Cynthia for including poets in the work of the Whitman Birthplace in a way that, 12 years ago was not the case. Before Cynthia was here, there was a certain, balance of what the Whitman Birthplace Association did appropriately, because it's in charge of an historical building from 1830s, and it's in charge of interpreting Walt Whitman and promoting his legacy, which is, a vital activity. And it also has a role to play in the poetry community on Long Island, in a leadership role and a flagship role. And that's been a portion of what it's done as well. But I would say that Cynthia really rebalanced that in a way that we've had an opportunity now as poets and regional poets to make the Whitman Birthplace really feel like it's our own home. So long may that be the case at the Whitman Birthplace. It's been that way for 11 years, as long as I've been there. And 2 years before that, there was another writer-in-residence as well. I realized that you're looking at me and saying, geez, 11 years, he must have started when he was like 12 years old. But in fact, it was after many, many years of activity with the Whitman Birthplace. And one of the major things that the Birthplace does is to bring in a poet of the year, going back to David Ignato. I think was the first poet in residence at the Birthplace. Really international figures have filled that role, from Yevgeny Yevtushenko to Sharon Olds, and many American poets as well. Marvin Bell was recently with us as a writer in residence, as a poet in residence. That's a great program. That's how I initially became involved with the Whitman Birthplace, because I was writing for the Long Islander, which is Walt Whitman's own newspaper. And each year I would interview the poet in residence and put a special Long Islander for that. So my association with the Birthplace goes back to 1988. It's a great place if you haven't visited it. Some of you are from far distant places, California, Ontario, Howie, I don't know, you're a Massachusetts guy, but I don't know if you ever got here to Long Island or not. Others of you, it's just a stone's throw away, and you probably have been there or maybe even visited the Walt Whitman Birthplace in the 4th grade. But one way or another, it's a great place to visit for historic reasons, to make that connection with Walt Whitman, and also to participate in the many community poetry events that are put on each year. So that's my pitch for the Walt Whitman Birthplace. Tonight's a very special night. We've been doing since for 11 years a Walking with Whitman series, and after our featured reader, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But just to tell you that this is one of my favorite things that we do with the Walking with Whitman series. Generally, we pair a local poet with a national or international poet, and they read side by side. And over the years, we've done that in various ways. We brought in actually musicians and dancers and all sorts of different things. But 2 years ago, we decided, let's have a special night where there's a lead. The lead is a local poet of some prominence and an open mic. And that way we'll have it, we'll be able to make that mix broader. It's not just that interface between local and national poets that happens 5 or 6 times a year in that way, but it's also bringing somebody on stage. And I see Edgar Carlson is here, maybe some others that have served that role last year or the year before as the featured reader in an open mic night. And this is our party night, our local poetry party night. And because it's Zoom, if you're in London, Ontario, or you're in Davis, California, or Oakland, California, you're part of the local poetry society with us as well tonight. So welcome to all of you who are here. I'd like to hear everybody's story, but maybe we'll get a chance to hear from other people. But tonight we're going to hear, first of all, from a very talented and wonderfully entertaining poet, our featured lead poet from the local community tonight. And while she's from the local community, she's visiting with us from a hotel room in upstate New York, where there's a party going down downstairs or across the street. And she's at a wedding for a family member, but she's managed to go up to a hotel room, and she's going to join us and give us her show from the hotel room. So that's Barbara Branca. I know Barbara for many, many, many years, as most of you do, and in many capacities, as a person who sings Santa Barbara with various kinds of instrumentation, maracas and different sorts of things like this. So she brings music to the things she does. And in fact, she has had a long and infamous or famous career in traveling as a musician and a performer. She may tell you about it, but she would turn up in Greece at a club in Greece singing or reading poetry in different places. Most of us know her because of the work that she did. It's at Stony Brook, but then she'll tell you the correct term for this because I don't have it right, but it's a maritime operation. They do research and that sort of thing at Stony Brook University. And she was there, and she brought culture to these scientists in this unbelievable way. I remember one time she dragged me to this beach party on the south shore of Long Island, and there was maracas, and there was a Spanish guitarist playing, and I read poetry with the Spanish guitarist, and I read some Walt Whitman with the Spanish guitarist, and she said she was really doing a very important job of bringing poetry and culture to these scientific types at Stony Brook. So that's one thing that you need to know about it and understand the full picture of Barbara Branca. Very entertaining. She's out there. She's in New York City with us at the Parkside Lounge and other locations. And she's going to give us a whiz-bang show before she heads out back to her wedding. So let's hear it from Barbara Branca, Barbara Ann Branca.
Well, I have to say, thank you so much, George, for that intro. And it was a Sea Grant at Stony Brook University. And thank you, Caitlin, for working on all the logistics and And it's great to see poets and friends from far and near that are coming from out of the country, just got back. So it's very exciting tonight. So you were talking about the distance with the birthplace. So my dad, Joe, used to drive us by the Whitman house long before there was the interpretive center. And my dad was an architect, so he knew a lot of the details and was like very exciting for us, but we always drove there. But then I asked the Google and I realized that it was only about a 2-hour walk. It's about 6 miles from the house I grew up in Nassau County. So I'm going to start tonight with a new poem, and it's an homage to Walt Whitman's Pioneers, Oh Pioneers, with a little something about my mid-1950s childhood that has some relevance today. Pioneers, we pioneers. Come, my best friends, come, my sisters, little ones. Have you time to join the line, a circle of flesh to present arms? Pioneers, we pioneers. Come, my brothers, from brand new suburbs, from fathers of the GI Bill. Come from Levitt Ranch, Cape Cod and Bungalow. Pioneers, we pioneers. From Minetto Hill to Mattituck, from Bayport to Northport. Come down from Mount Misery, first grader, second grader, third grader, fourth. Pioneers, we pioneers. To the schoolhouse, courageous, lining up without fear, feet firmly planted in the hallway, in classrooms, auditoriums. Pioneers, we pioneers. Wait in a queue straight. Have you a rolled up sleeve? It may be a pinprick. It may be a cube of sugar. Pioneers, we pioneers. Trust that it works. Trust that it hurts. But that's the price to keep you out of the iron lung. They may give you a drink. They may give you a sweet. But most of all, they will give you a card with your name proclaiming a polio pioneer. Now, over a half century past, generations come and gone. Thanks, scientists, chemists, physician, messengers of RNA, pioneers, we pioneers. But will the mothers who refuse, the fathers who say no, regret that choice someday for their children to proudly say, pioneers, we pioneers. We did that. Earlier this week, November 1st was All Souls Day. So here's All Souls Day Blues. That was a song I wrote years ago, composed on a lonely mountaintop, scribbled on lined yellow paper, sung with a dulcimer into the wind of a hawk's ridge. What I thought was earth-shaking a revelation pales these days. But it's okay to spend a day in quarantine, salvaging a flower arrangement, pinching off decaying leaves and petals as Vivaldi announces the change of season, somehow at peace after serenading a blue moon last night, begging for her understanding and kindness to flood our world. La, some more pandemic poems. Supermarket superhero. 10 years since a night of violence nearly destroyed you, our family, years of struggle and redemption. You found your way through college, through changing expectations, emerged whole through a job of service. Now you support me so I can stay home safe, bring home our sustenance, my joy to prepare for you every meal. We are living in the moment to secure another moment. Stay safe, my son, my supermarket superhero. For Colin. My first job out of college was teaching earth science. I'm fond of rocks, like the big boulders that we have on Long Island's North Shore, known as the glacial erratics. So this was in last year's Long Island Quarterly. Thank you, George. Among glacial erratics. I feel relatively young among great slabs of granite. There are windows of mica seeing the past. From whence came these behemoths, some basaltic and brooding. Their calendar does not abide by yours, measured in millions of lifetimes, yet the beach only in thousands. The wind, the current, the tide, beholden to the ancient moon, take their measure, hold the waves up like blue glass cups, not breaking them till they can hold no longer, crashing onto the quartz moraine, sparkling with golden jingle shells. Waves surge onto the stone-faced boulder that will not change in my lifetime. To it, I give up my burdens, release the stones around my neck. Glacial boulder, restore my youth. Wave, bathe my spirit. Wind, make my soul flutter and take flight. I'm going to stay with the rock theme for one more. And this is traveling to Greece with an orchestra many years ago. This rock. Sometimes I feel the bottom falling out. In just about everything, the foundations are cracked. We flounder in our sinkholes. I have to grab onto something on the way down, something solid to work back upward, something safe and grounding like a rock, bedrock on which to stand. I'll make my stand, but not just on any rock, this rock. 2, we traversed the whole island by scooter, the smooth, narrow blacktop along high bluffs, the shore breeze in our hair, the dunes where we took off our wet clothes, a secret place to eat figs. Feel salt stains dry. Demetra knew the road to the ancient quarry, dry, treeless hills of Marathi, not far from Parika, where slaves and artists dug tunnels, marble prize since the 5th century before the Christos. Sculptures in Delos and Delphi, Athens and Olympia. 50 years since I carried this memory stowed in my pack. 5,000 miles zephyred home to the new world. 3, in a state of grace, meditating up the scale in full voice, resonating still, I picked up that rock from Paros as if for the first time, and it showed me the right way to hold it, consecrate it. What I could cradle civilization in the palm of my left hand. Its bottom ridge safely between 2 fingers. It's heavy yet light as summer on your skin. My right hand hovers over it, finding its energy, keeps it from dissipating randomly. My thumb anchors the front, my fingers caress the shiny facet, the translucent Parian marble, like human skin rich in emollients. What the Greeks treasured, quarried, chiseled, smooth faces, arched necks, strong arms, lifted torsos, powerful legs, round buttocks, living in this piece of rock, idolized for millennia. Oh, Nike of Samothrace, oh, Venus de Milo, give me strength, a connection to the many that come. I welcome them to my home. Thankful for my foundation, mine eyes gaze upward to the roof of the Parthenon. This is where I make my stand, my island, this island. This is how I hold a rock. Gray skies are gonna clear out, put on a happy face. Brush off those clouds and cheer up. put on a happy face. So spread sunshine all over the place. Just put on a happy face. That little bit of cheer comes from the 60s musical Bye Bye Birdie. My mom and I were in a production together when I was a teen. We lost mom during the pandemic. Emptying mom's purse. They gave me her purse months after she died. Pandemic rules, you know. The months seemed like years suspended in the ether. So now the well-worn purse with the eyeglasses rarely worn, the change purse filled with the odd costume jewelry, all the good stuff was divvied up long ago. The wallet with its expired license, the insurance cards, a dated grandchild picture, all those artifacts I can safely say goodbye to now. But the boxes of sheet music, classical to pop, spawning a century, this is her true legacy. This is what brings tears to my eyes, a pang of loss, and a deep, abiding appreciation for giving me the gift of music. Thanks, Mom. So I'm going to continue with a little family saga. And this one is about my great grandmother, Katerina. And this, I see Bob Cimino is here. This was just recently published in No Distance Between Us, Volume 2, in both English and Italian. I'm just going to do the English. Katerina pinned all her hopes on him, Rocco. She named him after the patron saint, her hometown on the Ionian Sea. His statue had wept real tears when those who couldn't make it up to the church high above the bay, when the ground shook, when the waves surged, sweeping them into the wrathful sea. She was a teen in steerage, bound for New York, worked at her father's butcher shop on Jane Street in Hudson. She had a gift for numbers. They married her off to handsome Vincenzo, fresh from Calabria. Their honeymoon, a one-way train ride to a Pennsylvania coal mining town. She cried for her mother. The conductor asked, "Is this man bothering you?" "No," through tears. "He's my husband." Then 10 years of having babies, nursing babies, burying babies, nursing other mothers' babies, burying them too. Then a beautiful daughter named for Saint Teresa of Avila. Finalmente, a son for Vincenzo, her pride, her salvation, her Rocco. But the mind was cruel. One night, when Rocco cried for Papa, Papa was not there. Vincenzo did not come home, trapped, crushed, panicked, gasping for air. She never knew if death came swiftly or lingered. She knew only that his last breath was Rocco. She made a life for them in unfamiliar Brooklyn, working 2 jobs, saving nickels and dimes. Her children were city public school American kids speaking Brooklynese. Rocco also spoke his mother's language of numbers, got a job at a bank, walked to work, saved a nickel subway fare. He wanted to blend in. He got a suit. At the bank, they called Rocco Robert. By whatever name, he was on the road to success. But as the earth trembles, waves surge, minds collapse, influenza took young and old. Rocco was swept up, leaving mother and daughter on the shore of loneliness. Of the tremors, waves, deprivation, deaths, burials she had endured, none more soul-shattering than that of Rocco. For 6 decades afterward, loving matriarch to grandchildren, great-grandchildren, her death at 90, upon her lips, Rocco. On a lighter note, still with an Italian kind of scene, you can't socially distance in the Italian pork store. You can't socially distance in the Italian pork store. There's so much more to pork. But there's only one slim door for both ingress and egress. The sparkling glass case beckons with mozzarella in agua, mounded meatballs, marinated mushrooms, spirals of sausage, offerings of olives. You try to look from a safe distance between other patrons. Feasting eyes track row upon row, across and down, until you must zoom in for a close-up. Crusty loaves of semolina, soldiers, seated or unseated, choices not to be made lightly. The door jingles open. All eyes scroll right. Another masked dreamer enters to gaze and graze. She seems safe, like extended family. What if the floor magically moved everyone to the next station? But alas, I might not have the perfect view to say to Fabrizio, late of Naples, yes, that's the one, as dancing eyes flirt above his black mask. You can't socially distance in the Italian pork store. Here's another one for a friend. A lot of COVID stuff. That's what we did. Thank you for visiting me. I could see you on the far side of the glass door, anticipating a visitor. They scanned my forehead. I signed off on the rules. You came out shuffling in bright new sneakers. A smile behind your mask, a sparkle in your eyes, but not enough to recall my name. We sat opposite, each chair on a taped X. You tried to steer yours closer, but a gentle hand pulled you back. You look great, I said, meaning it. How are you feeling? You said fine on autopilot. But the people here are old. They cry all the time. Not you, I offered. We were always going to be 33. No, I'm not old, you said. How old are you anyway? Kidding her like we used to do. You didn't know. It didn't matter. You asked about my boy. His name was not on your lips, but love was in your voice. He's doing well and sends his love. I want to see my son, you said with clarity. You will soon, I said. How's your boy? You asked again. The people here are old. They cry all the time. Your sneakers never stopped moving. Like dancing at beach bars a lifetime ago we used to do. Do you really remember? We laughed anyway. The day was warm. Your fleece was zipped all the way up. Outside noise proved too much competition. Our time was up anyway. Thank you for visiting me. The sneakers shuffled back inside and a tear trickled down my cheek. Maureen. Another bit of loss. Folk singer. He'd been gone a year now. She was cried out enough. Took his guitar down from the wall. They painted it the color of his eyes. Gingerly, reverently, she held it to her breast, sad at the dust clinging to the warm wood, clouding the mother of pearl inlay they'd watched a craftsman create. She slung the strap over her shoulder, and oh, so quietly, let fingers find each string, high to low, remembering chords taught by Brother Pete along the Hudson, strummed years ago at peaceful candlelight vigils, upstate college campus to inner city Head Start, at that scary protest in DuPont Circle, in Jim Crow luncheonettes and laundrettes in Alabama, where that Okie from Muskogee yelled, "Get a haircut, you draft dodger." We were singing for freedom, justice, peace. What would he think now? What should we do? In her head, she heard him answer, "Sing louder, and please get that thing tuned." Portal. 3 mothers, not young, take their toddlers to the eternal springs, a magical East End summer week, building sandcastles, feeding ducks, pretending to be sea captains. A handwritten note posted on a tree beckons us to enjoy a tranquil spot in the woods. A transcendent adventure starts. A small wooden ferry appears out of nowhere. We pull ourselves across the creek to Sherwood Forest, Neverland. We are explorers, pirates, pilgrims, summoned by an unknown benefactor. Take a moment in this beautiful place, lingering in dappled sunlight, watching the children examine bugs, throw sticks, chase one another till ready to go. We cross again by ferry, say goodbye to the forest, onto our next vacation adventure. We never found that portal again. We sought repeatedly to find that promised land west of Montauk, north of the highway. Was it along Old Stone Highway at Albert's Landing? Decades later, we shut our eyes, see us all with wonderment of youth, hear laughter of the 6 ageless children one child always loved. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. We sang it at his memorial. 2 children have followed their dreams. 2 mothers have too. One mother is still here, but not here. Life is but a dream. And when is it our time? When does that portal open again for each to ferry us gently to the other side? So, Caitlin, we're doing okay on time?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
One or 2 more?
Okay, because I have more. So I think I'm going to do something more fun. I'm going to do something from the title poem of Flash Flood, which is about a trip to the Southwest many years ago. No. Moonless night, you and me packed into that cobalt blue VW, logging 1,000,000 miles from Chattanooga to Chaco Canyon. The last 20, all dirt roads, dusty, where jackrabbits big as ghosts jump out of the darkness. Drive on to Pueblo Bonito. We spend the night feeling spirits rise from the kivas of the Anasazi, feeling spirits rise from the kivas of the Anasazi. But in the morning, the ranger said the sky hadn't cried in 7 years and it was about to rain. Get out of the canyon now before the rain comes and slicks up that clay road and no gas to Farmington. before the rain comes and slicks up that clay road and no gas till Farmington. No, I came all this way just one more hour to climb down that ladder, feel the presence, hear the silence of centuries. Where'd they all go? Why'd they leave their home? Why'd they cut down every tree for the timber roof, now long, long gone? Why'd they cut down every tree for the timber roof, now long, long gone? No, so get out now, he repeats. So we do, and it starts raining the first time in 100 moons, and the car starts slipping and sliding, the tank almost empty. Then all of a sudden, there is a big rise, and on that rise, we see sheep. Rain staining their woolly coats, rain staining their woolly coats. Then above them all, in a multicolored robe like Joseph, raising his wooden staff like Moses, comes a Navajo shepherd, as calm as you please, and thankful for this rain, the rain that has forced us to flee. And he watches as down the arroyo, the red clay courses like blood, flash blood. I first read that at the Birthplace a number of years ago, and that was a great feeling. I have one very short one that I'd like to conclude one, or I can do with an in-betweeny one.
Let's do
What do
it. Two more sounds good.
Okay, I can do two. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely, Barbara. Please do.
Okay, so I'm going to do another one that harkens back to my biology, chemistry, and earth science teaching days. Mayfly, ephemeropta, exquisite dragonflies and mayflies. They get their wings after years submerged as swimming nymphs, and for a brief moment find a mate on winged love. So too, the two of us, old fools ever searching for perfection underwater in fathoms of want, emerge with wings to a passion unmatched. I find a shirt you've left behind. But time is slipping through our stiff fingers. Seasons change for every winged creature, our hair turning white, but this shirt, this cotton fiber full of you, pressed to my face, covering my eyes from the grief of separateness, the knot in my neck from turning round to see you at my doorstep. Only you can ease stiffened shoulders. I forbid this moment from passing. The moments may become years. How many could we possibly have left? Like the graceful ephemeropta, the shirt still holds a moment of you. I wait until it's in tatters. I'd like to end with a poem that George published in Walt's Corner last summer, August of 2020. So thank you again, George. And thank you to all you poets and guests and wonderful people and musicians who've been here tonight. Lose yourself. It doesn't take much. You don't need fancy boots. The path is soft, weathered pine needles. Hundreds have gone before you. As long as the whisper of wind through the treetops is louder than the passing traffic, you can lose yourself in the pines.
Thank you, Barbara. Amazing,
Thank
amazing.
you so much.
I'm so happy I got to hear you read. I've known you now for about 2.5 years. I've been here and I'm so impressed. I'll never think of Italian pork stores the same way. Love that. Love that. If everyone wants to unmute for a moment and give a big, big round of applause for Barbara Ann Branca.
Yeah, Barbara.
I'm applauding you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you for listening. It's my joy to do it.
Amy,
It is my joy.
thank you.
Barbara, get back to your party. Have fun out there.
Okay, thank you. I'm signing off
Right.
as gracefully as possible.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Next, we're going to hear a song from Bryan Gallo. I'm going to hand it back to you, Bryan.
Hello again, everybody. This song is a tune called Waitress on Call that I wrote some time back. It's included on the first official release of music I released publicly called The Party Guest. You can find that on streaming services and also at my website, bryangallo.com, or you can also go to bryangallo.bandcamp.com. If anyone out there is familiar with the website Bandcamp, it's easily accessible there in digital format. So this is Waitress on Call. Waitress walks by, asks me what I need. I reply, just a black cup of coffee, please. 'Cause I got a hunger you can never feed, unless you are willing to come home with me. So gather your tips and let's walk down Main Street. I don't care if you got no stilettos on your feet. God only knows if we get any sleep, but we'll have all these photos and memories to keep. Come let your head down long, help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the morning. Let your head down long, help me sing this song. Ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the morning. So gather your keys, your sweater and your skirt, and make haste for the door because you're late for work. You got 2 shifts and endless faces to serve. There won't be one to let you know what you were. So I'll collecting your tips, could you please not fall? I hate for you to break because I think I'm in love. Know that you said we weren't serious at all, so I'll just have to be content to have a waitress on call. Come let your hair down long, help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the morning. Let your head down long, help me sing this song. It ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the morning. Don't ask why I heard, you know it's 'cause you flirt, no regard for any feeling but your own. Still every night I dial your number all the while. I know when the sun comes up you'll be gone. Come let your head down long, help me sing this song. It ain't written yet, but if you stay with me, it might be written by the morning. Come let your head down long, help me sing this song. It ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, it might be finished by the morning. Ain't finished yet, but if you you stay with me, we might be finished by the morning. Ain't finished yet, but if you stay with me, yeah, we might be finished.
Wonderful, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good song.
That's always the song that gets stuck in my head the next day after we
Oh,
have.
good.
Yes, I
Guess
love that
I've
one.
done my job.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to remind everyone, BryanGallo.com. You can look him up, find more
Bryan
music.
with a Y. With a Y.
Yes.
Worth noting.
Yes, good reminder. I'm trying to paste it in here. Everyone, I'm having a little technical difficulty, so bear with me. The chat, I can read it, but I can't seem to access it to write in it. So just letting you know, we'll hopefully get that fixed as we go on to our wonderful night here. Okay, so next up, we're going to start with our featured poets. And our first featured poet we've had with us before, Jennifer Wenn. And Jennifer Wenn is a trans-identified writer and speaker from London, Ontario. Her first poetry chapbook, A Song of Milestones, has been published by Harmonia Press, an imprint of Bellevue Books. She has also written From Adversity to Accomplishment, A Family and Social History, and published poetry in Word City Literary Journal, the Stratford Quarterly, Journey of the Heart, Bellevue Review, the Ekphrastic Review, Watch Your Head, Open Minds Quarterly, Tuck Magazine, Synarisis, Big Pond Rumors, and the League of Canadian Poets Fresh Voices, Wordfest Scene, and the anthologies Dunament and The Things That Matter. She's also the proud parent of 2 adult children. And you know what, Jennifer, I do have your website and I would love to share it, but unfortunately it's just not working for me. So if you could type it in after your set, that would be amazing. For all our poets, please, if you can put those in. All right, Jennifer, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. And thanks to the WWBA for doing this and inviting me to participate. This piece, the roots of this piece go back to a visit I made to the Auschwitz concentration camp back in 2005, which was several years before I started to come to terms with my identity as a transgender woman. And it took a long time to sink in, I guess. And some while after I started writing poetry in 2017, I decided I wanted to try and write something. And so I ended up with a 17 section cycle that I completed this summer called Auschwitz Threnody. And this section is number 11, as it happens. And all of the sections are rooted in something I saw while I was there. And this one is rooted in the classification system for prisoners that use colored triangles that you'll hear about more in the piece. And this, of all the sections, this, for reasons that will become clear, I think is maybe the most personal. It is called Pink Triangle and was published a little while ago in the Bellevue Review. A sneering, macabre ostinato grounding the entire horror-sonant din, Nazi mania for speciation of the condemned, rooted in the infamous yellow star, branding as accursed an ancient faith, culture, and tradition. Here in Auschwitz, the star modulates to a clamorous fugue of triangles, green for professional criminals, black a grab bag labeled asocial, swallowing up the Roma sex workers, the homeless, and more. Red for political prisoners, purple signifying Jehovah's Witnesses, yellow for the Jewish people, overlaid with another triangulated color to achieve the mandated star, But there, one more theme weaving in, plaintive and forlorn, the pink triangle, mocking label dominated by men condemned only for loving other men, but slipping into the silences, also condemned for their inner flames, my sisterhood, female spirits tearing at contrary shrouding male shells, blessed to be born in a different time and place, now transitioned from Jeffrey to Jennifer, my newly integrated mind's eye sees chamber Jeff myopically scan the display case and pass on. Jennifer from her subconscious prison insistently importuning, but heard as just a mysterious fleeting susurration. Miles and milestones later, my memories are remade, imbued with new meaning, and pen in hand, I spiral through that pink triangle, tripping over the decades to the 20s of another century, an entr'acte between violent cataclysms and wondering, what if this was my time? What would I have been? Most places, a tormented butterfly locked in imperishable masculine amber, tagged pervert, insane, degenerate, never to feel the sun or hear my wings whisper on the wind. But Weimar period Germany, the Great War then a nightmare past, Hitler a distant rumble expected to fade. Daring, decadent, doomed Weimar, its beating heart at blazing Berlin, an ephemeral roiling crucible, a time of Bauhaus, Albert Einstein and Thomas Mann, Brecht and Weil's Threepenny Opera, Marlene Dietrich and the Blue Angel, prostitution, drugs, and the black market, wildly uninhibited cabarets, and much, much more, a tumultuous symphony spacious enough for even my pioneering sisters to have a part, tremulous but growing. Permits to publicly present our true selves, Magnus Hirschfeld's Research and Medical Institute, our own magazines and nightclubs headlined by the infamous, amazing El Dorado, above all being seen and heard, casting off shame and having community. Maybe there I could have shattered the unyielding chrysalis and found my voice. Then the clanging chimes at midnight proclaimed onslaught of the Hakenkreuz and its minions, diversity now deemed noxious plague, the entire pink cohort, gay and trans in modern terms, repudiated by families and former friends, pilloried, hounded, step by step, books burned, Hirschfeld's Institute torched, El Dorado perverted to Nazi headquarters, arrested, peoples of all the triangles designated for thraldom and disposal in the camps where pink sank into the abyss, given the most arduous assignments, despised even by other prisoners, many driven to suicide, their SS slavers incited to new depths of depravity, all because our inner stops reverberated with chromatic notes. And mine, no doubt, would have been deftly snuffed, never to be resounded. Witness a curtain crashing down, our little song crushed by an ushered in Götterdämmerung, hemorrhaging death and hate, a scene repeated over and over like a record needle stuck on Wagner's lyrical savagery. My forgotten sisters and brothers, revealed or hidden, self-aware or suppressed, we have always been here. But this time was different. You were convention shakers, mold breakers, trailblazers, and came the howling midnight claxons. You paid audacity's highest price and, obliviated or not, were pitched with so many others into hell's waiting maw. Now here I am, comfortable, but for the unceasing etheric corral, awed, guilt-stained, grateful, scribbling. I shed lonely tears of pride, for before those fatal claxons, my sisterhood fought another war, invisible, soul deep, one I know well, a desperate sub rosa pas de deux, shame and hope whirling on the razor's edge, and all those decades ago, hope flung aside the inherited, imposed, manly shroud, divine feminine spiritus, finally dancing free like evanescent will-o'-the-wisps amidst a marsh. Turning, I sing out that your lives had value and meaning. I quiver with anger at the assassins who tormented and butchered you and others like us to this day. Horror-bound and uncomprehending, I weep for your suffering, a profound drop in a bitter, agonized ocean. May these few words be a memorial from one who, having seen it, cannot and will not forget, and who honors and exalts the hidden realm of the pink triangle. Thank you very much.
So powerful, Jennifer, always when we have you with us. Thank you so much, all the way from Canada. Amazing. All right, and we're getting the clapping. I know, I wish we could clap individually, but I want to get to as many open mic poets as we can, so we'll do a big round of applause very soon. All right, and next up, we have Howie Faerstein with us. Howie Faerstein's latest collection is Out of Order, Main Street Press, and his previous books, Dreaming of the Rain in Brooklyn and Goo Goots, were published by Press 53. His poetry and reviews can be found in numerous journals, including On the Seawall, Nix's Mate, Benyon Review, Rattle, Upstreet, Verse Daily, and Connotation. A 5-time Pushcart Prize nominee, he's co-poetry editor of Cutthroat, volunteers as a mentor at the City for New Americans, and lives in Florence, Massachusetts. And you can find his website, howiefaerstein.com. All right, Howie, I'm so happy to have you with us. I'm going to hand it over to you right now.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
So the first poem I'll read is called Hunger. It's in the Dreaming of the Rain in Brooklyn book. It has an epigraph from Whitman. I help myself to material and immaterial. No guard can shut me off. No law can prevent me. Hunger. Along the pink rock mesa fronting 2 brown hills, last spring's fledglings attempt song. I steal a flicker's flash of fire, sun glint on a kinglet's ruby crown. I take all that I can. Fear drives me to it. Some birders place mist nets around yards, catch incoming migrants, hold blue-winged warblers to their mouths. I gather feather and stone, hang Jerusalem cricket and clown beetle in the front window. Dragging off all I can lug, greed spurs me on. From the newborn, desperate to talk, I breathe evidence of fingers and toes, and from their necks, so goose-like they light the Rio Grande, I rifle a message to my mother about stars that go on like numbers forever. Then running down the wash, I thieve the bloodwood of your heart, make it my own. Without fear of consequence, I grab as much as I can hold. Hunger makes me do it. And here's a couple of poems from the new book, Out of Order. I'll start with Brando, Her Godfather, a poem for my daughter. Conceived on the night we saw our last tango in Paris, she's always been my child, that much I'm sure of. I was so much larger then, could hold her fullness against my chest, lying there in the sunken living room. My legs pulled up, sweet jack-in-the-box perched on my knees, a pyramid, a slide, and when I splayed them open, she tumbled down. I was roller coaster, rocking chair, slingshot, catapult, payload. She was counterweight, cannonball, curled tongue snaking out her mouth, resting on lower lip. Joyous she was, over and over, hilarious, again, again. Love was that easy. And this is another one from Out of Order. It's called Monarch. Anchored to a spent daisy in the forge of continuous summer, an orange and black speckled butterfly had spun her silk pad, had shed caterpillar skin, had burst capsule chrysalis, and I named her Whitman and water and wind. her forelegs vestigial, held close to her body, and I named her Fish and Sparrow. And when she lifted with a sound of light rain, she flew beyond milkweed stalks, above a caution sign and grooved pavement, unbent, unbridled, and I named her Otter and Fire. And when she rose among asters and comets, luminous, when she stroked through cloudless blue, unclosed, unbidden, I named her Unmechanical. Now I call her Mist and Dawn. I looked, knowing her gone, a pool of blue shade in her place. And the last poem is the last poem in the book, out of order. It's called Let This Knuckle of Raisin Challah Last. Let hectoring crows quarrel over the slow-footed possum dead in the road, and let the cat's heartbeat supplant the tick-tock of this hour. Let storm door replace screen and white light replace yellow, for the warm season moths are now dead. And let there be patience and wood enough as November begins its bleed through the crevices of this house. Let dove's vulnerability triumph as Merlin thrusts through sudden dusk. Let no disturbance hinder ground bees tunneling the tattered garden. Let sparrows follow swifts and a moaning tenor ruffle the hog farm's cornfield. Let this pot-bound clivia match the growth of summer pokeweed, and let the suck and sell of threadbare tyrants dissolve. Let all contradictions be made public, and all talk of God emanate from those unaffiliated rather than crypto-fascist hypocrites. Let the treaties be finally honored, and the American Klansman return to his cave. Let strangler fig and corkscrewing creeper be uprooted. Let my grandmother close her eyes, even as Cossacks force them open, while they slaughter her daughter, then husband. Let yellowing of Rose of Sharon and samba of twisting leaves signal regeneration, then redemption. Allow this miasma to finally lift before our perfect moon flees to another sun. Let there be a commingling of language, and let the whole in all its movable parts spin on the autumn carousel, a whirl on town common. Thank you.
Thank you, Howie. So powerful. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found us from Massachusetts. You made your way to us.
Glad to be here. Very glad.
Wonderful. All right, next up we have a local poet, Emily Sue Sloane, and she's an award-winning poet whose debut collection, We Are Beach Glass, will be released December 1st of 2021. This year she won first place in poetry contests held by Calling All Writers, the Long Island Fair, and Nassau County Poet Laureate Society, Performance Poets Association, and Princess Ronkonkoma Productions. She also was a finalist in the 2021 Babylon Village Poetry Contest. Sloane's poetry has been published in numerous journals and anthologies, including Amethyst Review, The Avocet, Bard's Annual, Boston Literary Magazine, Corona, The Long Island Quarterly, Never Forgotten, 100 Poets Remember 9/11, Homing Pigeons from Pandemic to Protest, Twin Towers, Twin Decades, and Suffolk County Poetry Review. She lives in Huntington Station, New York. All right, Emily Sue, and your book will be in our gift shop very soon too, which is exciting.
Yes, thank you so much, Caitlin. I'll just show the book. Okay, this has so far been a great evening. Thank you, Bryan, for your music. And Barbara's reading was fabulous. I'm going to start with the title poem from my book, We Are Beach Glass. Damaged and dinky, I still love it, the singer said of the old guitar he'd just bought. Maybe he had a soft spot for things showing their age after his, maybe 7 decades of living. I don't know him well enough to suppose. But no one comes through unscathed. We are shards of beach glass, sharp edges worn smooth by the tides, sheen muted by sun and sand, fragments of the mosaic, waiting to be noticed, caressed, tucked into a pocket for safekeeping. And this one is called, thank you, this one's called Coffee Break. Poetry not your thing. You don't say so, but I read in your eyes the sorry that you asked what I do. I hesitate and then confess, I write poetry. I want to tell you in the silence that follows, poetry's not my thing either. It just flows from my pen in spurts, ink spilled before I can stop it. Poetry lets me off the hook. No plot lines, no character arcs. It peers through beveled windows, overturns stones, seeks patterns in coffee grounds. It lives in snapshots rather than movies. I want to tell you poetry sipped is poetry savored. Espresso with a shot of Sambuca at a sidewalk cafe. Try it. You may develop a taste for it. But I gulp my coffee, usually while reading something that's not poetry. My empty cup reminds me to notice. And this next one is Thrill Seeker. I think we've all kind of felt this way for the past year and a half. The one who walks a tightrope across canyons invites the specter in for tea and conversation. His balancing pole, arcing toward ground, etches the line between fate and faith, living and leaving. His quick, delicate steps bounce the wire in an improvised mid-air ballet performed joyfully on the crescendo of silent prayer. And this next one is a memory from my college days. It's called Road Trip. 3 college women, New York, Ohio, Tennessee, newly acquainted, looking for something to do on a Saturday night in '72. Ohio suggests dessert, cheesecake from Reuben's in New York City. Tennessee has a car, no cash. The car has no heat, little gas. 2-hour drive from Poughkeepsie. Tennessee, future lawyer, peppers the others with questions all the way to East 58th Street. No choice but to double park. To wait, Ohio runs in, comes out carrying 2 boxed cheesecakes and a grin. No forks. On the avenue farther uptown, a deli. Ohio calls out, "Stop, we need milk." To wait, Ohio runs in, comes out carrying a carton of milk. No cups. Double park they eat, talk, pass the milk carton back and forth. Time to go. Tennessee navigates uptown traffic, highways to the Taconic Parkway. Desolate road, it winds itself up like a top and spins cars out into the pitch black night. In the back seat, New York worries, watches the gas gauge drop along with the temperature. The engine sputters. They ride on fumes a little longer. An exit. Tennessee coasts into a lit-up gas station, the owner just about to close. From turned-out pockets, $3 and change, enough to take them the rest of the way. And this one I wrote just before the pandemic hit, but it still feels, unfortunately, very relevant. The death of civility. The glue that binds us has hardened and cracked in the cold war of lies and contempt. It no longer adheres. You can peel it off with ease, roll it between thumb and fingertips into a handful of dust, make a wish, and blow it away. And I'll close with this poem. Don't forget to turn your clocks back tomorrow night. The Dying Light. Deeper and deeper into October, sunrise lags. more time for the leaves to choose their true colors before they shed the green hues of youth. Chilly night air gradually falls into frost's orbit, and the leaves curl their edges. Still they cling to branches that birthed and cradled them through the warming days of summer. They catch the whispers on the wind, telling them soon it will be time to let go. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Emily Sue. Amazing as always. And
Thank
your
you.
book will be in our gift shop soon, so we're excited for that too. Anyone who's visiting, check that out.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have a poet who was local to us but has recently moved to California, Mark Donnelly. Mark Donnelly has publishing credits in poetry, drama, short fiction, and nonfiction magazines. He holds an MFA in creative writing from Brooklyn College and taught English at St. Francis College in Brooklyn and at Borough of Manhattan Community College. He ran a writing workshop for the North Shore Playwrights group in Great Neck, Long Island from 2012 through 2020. Mark has been a fan of Walt Whitman since moving as a boy to South Huntington from Queens in the late 1950s to a house just about a half mile from the Walt Whitman birthplace. He watched the Walt Whitman Mall being built and even played on the construction site. Love hearing about that, Mark. I'm glad you shared that in your bio there. I'm going to hand it over to you right now. Oh, wait, you're muted there, Mark. Just
Okay. Yeah, even ice skated on frozen mud puddles. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here via Zoom. And it is a step back a good step back in time for me. I lived on Deepdale Drive off New York Avenue, and those of us who grew up here knew that New York Avenue and 110 merge once you cross Jericho heading north. And if you grew up in Huntington, you always referred to it as New York Avenue north of Jericho. You never referred to it as 110. 110 was south of Jericho. So I just sort of wanted to point that out. And I also want to give a shout out to George, because I have known George. I met George in 1991, the fall of 1991. I had returned back to New York from living in Los Angeles in the 1980s, and I got a job at the Huntington Arts Council. And the late Cindy Kiebitz hired me. And one of the things she said later on is, I hired you because you grew up here. You weren't just somebody, looking for a job. And one of the great things I did, I went in the fall of 91 down to the Long Islander newspaper to introduce myself to George, because as I remember it, you were the arts editor, George. And I just value your friendship, and it's been a great thing, and it's been great artistically. You've published my work in the Long Island Quarterly, and the other really cool thing about George Wallace, his father owned the Hamburger Choo Choo. Am I right, George? And you worked at the
That's
Hamburger
correct,
Choo
yeah.
Choo.
Yeah, it was Hamburger Choo Choo.
And
There's an institution on Main Street in Huntington with a hamburger joint with a diner sort of arrangement. And go ahead, I'll let you tell the story.
yeah, no. And the cool thing was, your hamburger came served along on a toy, like a train set. And whoever was working the switch knew how to stop that plate right in front of your chair. And that's part of Huntington lore. And it's
That
one.
was not the trick. The trick was making it go slow around the corner so the hamburger didn't go flying off of the train. That was the trick.
Now, see, that's inside baseball. That's great to know, George. Anyway, I just enjoyed that so much. And I also learned from George that I probably saw him play in a battle of the bands back in, say, '66 at Heckscher Park. which was our fun thing to do in the summertime. So it all comes around, George. Thank you. So I'm gonna read a poem of mine taken from a new book that I'm in called Growing Up, Lifespan Volume 2, Stories, Essays, and Poetry. And this is published out of Australia by Pure Slush Books. And I get a kick out of this because it is somewhat autobiographical, and the setting was South Huntington. Red truck. I come here every day after school. I walk all the way around the truck looking it over. I look at the fading red paint exterior and the worn black leather seat, the big steering wheel and the tall floor shift. I read the vehicle registration sticker on the windshield, 1936 Chevrolet pickup. It is late afternoon and quiet. No one is outside except two little girls jumping rope on the front lawn, 3 houses down. I know Mr. Joe Panarello is at work. The other, much newer truck with his name written on the side is not here. Its usual parking space empty. I have an hour until he comes back. I have noted his pattern often. I climb on the running board and pull the door handle on the driver's side. I am delighted and maybe surprised when it opens. I grab onto the steering wheel and pull myself into the cab. In the driver's seat, I lean forward and clutch the wheel with both hands, rubbing my fingers over nicks and counting them. I look through the windshield and then up the dead-end street. I sit ever on the lookout for Mr. Panarello or his wife, flashing glances through both windows in the rearview mirror and side mirrors. I am driving down a country road making deliveries. I am a driver in a bank heist waiting for a signal. I am wearing an old brown leather jacket that belongs to Dad's friend, Johnny McGinnis. I wear 2 sweatshirts underneath and still it swamps me. I am on the run, even though our house stands at the other end of the block. I am miles away. I am distant. I am alone. I am an outlaw. I am a mechanic. I am a drifter who has found the truck and climbed inside. I will start the engine with a screwdriver like in the movies. I will be famous. I am 10 and will be back tomorrow. So that is Red Truck from Growing Up. And then my next and final poem will be Fade to Dark from Beat Generation, National Poetry Foundation Anthology 2020. And a nod to George for all the work that he has done over the years to keep the beats alive. So this is called Fade to Dark. I came here today like I regularly do after work, putting in about 5 hours each weekday since the heart attack. Handyman to the stars, that's how I bill myself. Slow go now. But in here, as the sun is setting, I push the dark faster. I like the quiet before the previews. I choose a seat up front by myself to be more involved. I like the idea of entering the dark, knowing outside it will soon be that way too. With no more drinking, I have my evening cocktail here. I have the screen, the event, the escape. What's my pleasure tonight? Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and Kate Winslet. I anticipate a wonderful coupling. I am escaping being alone after another failed relationship. That last one with Marianne threw me into a garage on the side of a house here in sunny LA. Santa Monica to be specific, and to be more specific about the garage, this converted studio apartment as advertised. I am surrounded by DVDs, videos, and books of magic, books that have helped guide me to amateur night at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. Magic and movies, movies and magic, magic in movies, my magical life. And here, before the previews and shows start, I am ready to engage what's coming next to this 3rd Street multiplex on the promenade in Santa Monica. It's starting. I must focus, dive in, let the story take me, the colors carry me, the Depp and Winslet characters inhabit me. He's the playwright who creates Peter Pan. She's a widow with children who meet in an English park one afternoon. Ah, the children. Let me go back to childhood too. I loved the Saturday movies. Now, much, much older, I am a daily cinema communicant. Sit back and relax. Maybe I'll drift off. I hope not. I want to see the show. Am I drifting? I know I'm tired after work and sleepy. Am I drifting? Am I sleeping? I think I am drifting. Have I found it? Is this it? Drifting away, flying away with Peter, Wendy, Michael, and John over Hollywood and the Magic Castle. I'm flying, flying. The usher calls an unneeded ambulance as I fade to dark. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you. And just as an aside, I never had the pleasure of going to Hamburger Choo Choo myself, but my parents have told me many stories from their childhood that they enjoyed it a lot. So it's fun to hear about. Definitely part of the heart of Huntington there.
It is. It is.
Okay. And for our last featured poet of the night, we welcome Dr. Glenda Bates. Dr. Glenda Bates is an innovative musician, poet, and interdisciplinary artist based in Oakland, California. She is a professional oboist who specializes in contemporary music, electroacoustic music, Baroque music, and improvisation. She's also an experienced jazz and contemporary vocalist exploring the great American songbook and writing her own music. She's a dedicated teaching artist who teaches oboe, piano, ukulele, voice, general music, and music theory lessons for people of all ages. She writes original children's songs and early childhood music curriculum and teaches music classes for infants through university level and adult students. Glenda received her doctorate of musical arts in oboe performance from Stony Brook University in New York and also studied music at the University of Maryland and the University of South Carolina. And her website is glendabates.com. Welcome, Glenda. I'm so glad that you're joining us also from the West Coast.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Thanks. It's good to be here and fun to hear stories about Huntington. I lived on Long Island for about 4 years when I was at Stony Brook. So familiar with some of the places that we've been hearing about. That's been nice. Okay, so this first poem I'm going to read is kind of a descriptive poem. When I first moved out here, after about a year, I moved to San Francisco and I lived right on the ocean. It's called Night Creatures. As the last glimpse of sun fades below Ocean Beach, I turn and climb the sand dunes facing east to find hanging low o'er city sky a full round moon shining bright. It beckons me back to begin anew. As the clouds begin to mask the radiant moon shining back, my thoughts turn outward from inward still. I glean one last glimpse of glowing beams and continue forward in a land of dreams. And so thank you. This next poem is called Walk It Auf, which is the name of a famous Bach aria. I just chose it because of the name awake, which means awaken or to awake. We all have a choice to make, embrace peace and love or continue in violence and hate. Awake, my people, expressions of the deified universe. Awake and be free. Can we just be? Will you set us free? If knowing one is knowing all, then the mind of one is the mind of all. Change your mind, awaken the spirit, become like a blooming flower, pushing through the darkness, opening to the light, a shining beauty for all to see. The universal consciousness is calling out. Can you hear? Are you listening? Open your mind and you will see. You will breathe. We will be. We all have a choice to make. Embrace peace and love or continue in violence and hate. Awake, all people, awake. Thank you. So this next poem is called Poet's Duty. It comes from a lecture by Terence McKenna. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the philosopher Terence McKenna, but he made a claim in one of his lectures that it speaks to me now because of the political environment. I think that we're really good at pointing out what's wrong with the current world, but there's not a lot of visions for the future. And Terence McKenna thinks that that's the fault of the artists and the poets. We haven't presented a future for people to look forward to. And so that's our duty. So this is called Poet's Duty. Papa McKenna says the poets have failed us, failed to articulate a change, a path, an idea to grasp, to unify us as the times before. But deep down, we know it's different this time. We can't pretend it's all the same, continue with this little game. We're too aware of our interdependence and connectivity at this point to settle for a naive solution. We've grown, but have we grown enough? Are we there yet? Can we make a change, turn it around, save face, or is it too late? Have we killed our home? We cannot even fathom how wonderful our society would be without war, without violence and greed, a thriving sustenance for all to feed. Our imprinted psyches only know war. It is the organizing force of our society, drawing boundaries and protecting them with murder. How can we imagine something different? Can our hearts know more? Don't let us waste this momentum. Let's put the pedal to the floor. Thank you. I have just a couple more. This next one is called We Can't Breathe. I wrote it during, I guess it was a few years ago when we were surrounded by fires out here in California and during all of the political unrest. It's hard to breathe deep when there's smoke all around. The wildfires are burning our towns to the ground. It's hard to hold back when there's so much at stake, trying to create what makes us all great. Our dignity, freedom, unity, and expression bring us together in resonant fashion. Fighting Nazis and MAGAs is not up for discussion. We must conquer these racists who make hate their passion. Xenophobes, racists, sexists, and classists all live among us and within us in our own cultural bias, delivered to us through messaging since time immortal. We must fight back. The climate is changing and so are we. The ocean is rising and so are we. The season is changing and so are we. The world keeps on turning and so are we. Rise up, stand together. They can't fool all of us all the time. Keep each other informed and warm. Be love. Awesome. Thank you. I have just two more. All of them are kind of shorter ones like this. This one is called The Time Is Now. Though we don't know how, we know the time is now. I can feel it coming, the winds of change, the wave of civilization is cresting, the tide receding, making way for something new. How will we begin? The search for love is daunting. We call for peace, but no one hears. Echoes of past sorrows are haunting. Fallen worlds are drowned in fears. When will we claim our own destiny? Will we let it be taken from us as every time before? Or will we rise up, join together, and show the world how to love, how to make peace, how to understand one another and break down all the doors? I want to be love. I want to be free. We need peace. We need harmony. Thank you. This one is called Love. It's a little bit cheeky. as opposed to some of these more angry ones that I've been reading. So love. Love is not a shackled curse. It is a blessing to be recognized and appreciated. From bountiful love blooms boundless peace. Saying it out loud doesn't bind it to last forever. It doesn't force us to stay together. It just means that in this moment, right now, I love you. That is all. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't be scared. Be honest. You love me too, I bet. And I have a very short last one. It's called Sorrowful Sisters, about all of us poets and artists. We are the We are the sorrowful sisters who spread peace and joy, chosen to explore the darkest fears and most mournful tears so that we may survive to tell the tale. The human experience is fraught with emotions. I bounce between them like a child on a pogo stick, crashing and burning every few hops just to get up and go again.
Wonderful, Glenda. Oh my goodness. The urgency there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So let's see. We're going to be doing our open mic very soon, where we have our audience members be able to sign up for the open mic. So if you haven't yet already, please put your name in the chat there. I have a list here already of everyone who has, so you're already set. Just if there's anyone else, they can add their name right now. All right, so let's do a big, big round of applause for all of our featured poets. They were amazing. Unmute for a moment.
Yay.
There it is on you. Yay! Excellent.
Amazing. This is what I love too, is we never know what topics we're going to hear about. There's just such a creative energy of a night. So wonderful. And we're going to hear from Bryan, Gallo. Again, please comment in the chat if you haven't read and you'd like to read one poem each with us right after Bryan's wonderful musical interlude with us. All right, Bryan, I'm handing it over to you.
Cool. This is a tune that I've had the fortunate chance to have played on a bunch of Long Island area radio stations here and there. And it's made its way around. So it's been a bit of a calling card, which is cool. If you find it on the album, The Party Guest, it'll be in the key of B flat, and you'll hear a harmonica on the track. I instead will do it in the key of A, sans harmonica tonight. This is Karma. 2. Used to run so wild and free. Guess the karma's catching up with me. Bones aching, I can't sleep. Guess the karma's catching up with me. It's no wonder why I'm all alone, burning every bridge I've ever crossed, seeking shelter from this storm, and I'm willing to pay whatever cost. Get what you give, and I took too much for free. Guess the karma's catching up with me. In my younger days, I was the king. Guess the karma's catching up with me. In my deck of cards, heart till you were my queen of hearts. Guess the karma's catching up with me. It's no wonder why I'm all alone, burning every bridge I've ever crossed, seeking shelter from this storm and willing to pay whatever cost. You get what you give in, and I took too much for free. Guess the karma's catching up with me. Get what you give in, and I took too much for free. Guess the karma's catching up with me.
Wonderful, Brian.
Thank you.
And we'll hear more from Brian towards the end of our program. So our next poet. All right, so our audience poets are going to perform now, one poem each. And we're going to start with Victoria Twomey. Victoria, if you just start speaking, the camera will go to you. You unmute.
Hi. Hi, everybody. How are you? It's nice to see all of you. This poem, and if you're old enough, you'll remember this perhaps, but there was a movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World that came out in 1963. And this poem is about 1963. So just a little reference if you don't quite remember it. It was a mad, 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 mad world. It was 1963. It was a Cold War. It was two blind saber-toothed tigers shackled to each other. It was a promise you hope you never have to keep. It was a spy versus spy cartoon. It was a long overcoat lurking behind a street lamp. It was a bomb drawn in black ink, a lit fuse just below the word boom. It was red, white, and blue. It was saying the Pledge of Allegiance and meeting it deep down in your bones. It was school bells. It was duck and cover. It was put down your book and your spangling stars. Practice and prepare, and you will not be vaporized. It was the Mariner 2 saying goodbye to Venus and leaving home forever. It was an early dismissal from third grade. It was a sobbing bus driver exclaiming, Camelot died in Dallas today. It was the sound of horses' hooves on stone. It was tortured gray faces on television where Davy and Goliath used to be. It was shiny black patent leather shoes, white gloves, white ankle socks. It was tragic home haircuts, Chips Ahoy, and Starlac powdered milk. It was booze at lunch, before and after dinner. It was the shadow of World War II throbbing in its cage. The Beatles were asking, do you want to know a secret? The Dave Clark Five were glad all over, and Otis Redding had a pain in his heart. It was the end, it was the beginning. It was a mad, 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 mad world.
Thank you, Victoria. Wow.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Next up, we will hear from Valerie Griggs. And I see you there, Valerie. I'm going to hand it right over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Readers, features, just wonderful. The moral of the story. Cleaning out my car. I found directions to just about every place I've been these past 25 years. Former migration routes to possibilities and disappointments, shortcuts to lovers, old neighborhoods, every place a story. So my mind took off down the path of memory and continuity, down parkways and turnpikes I used to take all the time. Now from this vantage point, sitting in the sun-warmed car, my journey thus far has a fairy tale feel. I've met the wise woman, said the magic words, outfoxed most of the predators. I don't know when I thought or caught the idea, but I learned this. Say yes to the impossible task and carry the fire-breathing skull. Spin gold from straw. Taste the busu. Kiss the princess.
Wonderful. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, you're going to hear from Carlos the Unhappy. We see that name a lot in the chat tonight. Carlos, we're happy to have you too.
Hi there.
Here we go. I'm going to spotlight you now.
Okay, let me just find what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm calling from England, Forest of Dean, and so it's like 20 minutes to midnight over here. And I'm going to read a poem called Universe Reaching Out. There is only one thing that maybe you might not know where it is, a place called Frome, which is in Somerset, which is in the sort of southwest of England. Okay. Sitting in school, watching the breeze move along the bushes, I see it, the universe reaching out as if one of those uncanny days when the sun and moon occupy the same sky, or the silent red evening when swallows sigh to feel the breeze in the cutting of the air. Unseen, she drops tender light inside a raindrop, spectrum trapped, a world sliding down purple bell of foxglove. I see her song of moments in memories too, the pale young lady wrists of my grandmother, peeling potatoes in cool sink water. Oh, sweet universe, you spread across the long dawn of forever as thin waves of creation have become in us a child helping his father read. Guerrilla poets dropping free verse at graffiti bus stops in the rain. Even an old lady up late in moonlit Frome writing to Israel for the Palestinians. The leap of the whale, fall of a star, ghost of Segovia ringing through a guitar, explosion of bloom, the multitude of green. These songs sing wherein universe declares herself, does so each night under eyes that are closed, gifts us the innate to meditate. We sleep illuminated in the black, in the space between the stars, breathe soft without knowing, as she breathes through us cosmos with graceful touch of her waves of nothing, empties waiting minds that practice the endless from whence we came and go, so that we ourselves might dream instead, perhaps, hymns of moment such as these. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carlos the Unhappy, all the way from across the pond. Amazing. All right, next up we have Francine Witt sharing a poem with us.
Hello, nice to be here. And this is called Cab Ride. The meter starts, numbers twisting and ticking away. And it doesn't matter because numbers are a made up thing, like love. The city outside whirs by, men hammering buildings together, baby carriages and store signs, all of it blurry and Monet. I'll put this painting in my head with the others. The cab driver is 55 or 80, a hug of gray hair around his head. I don't think much about cab drivers. I figure they like it that way. My mother, of course, is dying. The cab driver drives past the hospital. Wait, I tell him. I said St. Elizabeth's. I know, he says, switching off the meter. Let's go look at the river instead. I've heard of things like this, kidnappings, hijackings. One minute, my mother was asking if I wanted my eggs scrambled or fried. The cab driver's eyes in the rear view. Hospitals can wait a few minutes, he says. My daughter, he continues, she was only 5. When we get to the river, the slap of an autumn morning as we step out of the cab, all around us, the usual joggers, the seagulls climbing the sky. Those birds, he says, they have a sense of direction. It's built into their wings. We get back into the cab. We head to the hospital. I open the window and let in a whoosh of air, a sudden swoop underneath my arms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francine. Awesome. Okay, next up we have J.R. Turek, who's a familiar face for the Birthplace. She's our 2019 Long Island Poet of the Year. There you are, J.R. I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, readers. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, George. Oh, and thank you, Caitlin. I just did a last minute change up. So I'm going to read from my new book, 24 and 24. This was a 24-hour poetry marathon. This is from hour 4. Zoom bomb. In these pandemic times, our poetry events are virtual. Hollywood Square boxes with smiling faces waiting for feature poets, open mic, a chance to chat at the end. Last night, I was a feature for the Walt Whitman Birthplace, wore a sparkly purple top, matching eyeliner and eyeshadow, mascara, a hint of violet on my lips, gold dangle earrings, and I was ready for my close-up. Not long after assembling in our Zoom room, we were bombed. I had heard of it happening, but this was my first raid. It was horrid, fuzzy video, but enough scene, depraved audio that flushed my cheeks, turned my stomach, made me gasp on mic. How could he? Such debased verbiage, taunting to shut down our meeting, and then he was joined by another guy, and then a female. Our host, Caitlin, was remarkable, cool and calm, efficient, muting the diatribes, ushering them out, zooming to slam the virtual door. Caitlin was our hero. We resumed our poetry event, which was an amazing assemblance of poets from around the world, over 40 participants with the open mic. Perhaps the raiders would be disappointed to learn that they didn't stop our event, didn't crush our spirit, didn't destroy our human sense of ethics with their trash talk. I do wonder how empty their lives must be, that bombing a Zoom poetry event is how they get their kicks. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. I love that poem for obvious reasons. You took something that was very negative and turned it into a great piece of poetry, so I appreciate it always. Love that one. All right, and next up we have another familiar face from the Birthplace. We have board trustee Robert Savino with us. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Robert. Go.
Okay. Thank you, Caitlin. And I'd like to start by echoing something George said. As a board member of the Walt Whitman Birthplace, I commend the job that you're doing there for all of us. It's without question best in class, and thank you for that. Scrambled paradigm. Some hear strange voices in the head, angry voices of those that don't exist, never did. scramble emotions, often answer questions only to argue, cross wires of the brain, split the mind with whispers of intellectual deterioration. When I hear voices in the head, they are eloquent, inspirational, words from her writing tablet in a language from some other time. And as you read me, I am the spirit of her translation. Two loves have I, one inside and one outside. What I know to be true, no one could imagine. If I were to lose love, tomorrow would be today. Thank you.
Wonderful, Robert. Thank you so much. All right. And next up, we have Ken Hart with us. If you want to unmute Ken, I'll find your video and spotlight you. Oh, I think we lost Ken actually. All right. So then next up we have another familiar face, Barbara Southard with us. She worked with us at the Birthplace for a long time.
Hi, Caitlin. It's good seeing everyone. Mark, where are you? You're there someplace. I remember Choo Choo Hamburger also. In fact, I'm going to read a poem about a neighborhood restaurant in my neighborhood. Unfortunately, it's a casualty of COVID. Makes me so sad. I went by the other day and it's just all closed up, and I don't think it's going to open up again. Mediocre food at best, woodsy decor with touches of kitsch. The place hums with living. Dining room filled with families and friends, flash of tattooed arms inscribed with red hearts, names, dates, meanings known only to their owners. Older kids on chairs play with smartphones or squirm in their seats like 6-month-old puppies, babies on laps grasping French fries in their fists, or pressed in sleep against their mother's breasts. The bar beyond the glass doors is packed with the weekend crowd, regulars in work clothes stopping off for their Friday night drink, conversations picked up from the Friday before, the end of the week in their voices, their loud laughs. This is a place where someone you know can build you a new deck or tell you how to fix your leaking faucet on their one night out, a week filled with work, always work, juggled with kids getting off the school bus, homework, bills to be paid. Thank you. It's been a great night.
Yes, it has, Barbara. Thank you so much. All right, and next up we have Sherry Lynn. And I see you there, Sherry. I'm going to hand it right over to you now. All right.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your art tonight. So moving. And thank you, Caitlin and George, for the event and the opportunity. I just want to say thank you to Barbara Southard, who was just on, who really encouraged me with this poem and got me to get it published. So this was published by Ms. Magazine last month, and it's dedicated to the Women's March that I attended last month. It's called On My Back. On my back, upon sun-kissed concrete, greeted by a baby blue sky, where white wisps tease my senses to feel at peace on this Saturday afternoon. Is this the same sky where women and trans men, for whom I lie here in silence, went? As they died when their reproductive health care access was denied, do their once tear-stained eyes now dried rest in peace? How is it anyone believes such a heart-wrenching decision as easy as the choice is in the moment for a man to wear a condom or not? The sky will yield to a deep red fire when more suffer, die in Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, and wherever else. is yet to fall. We know women of means will do what they do in night's quiet, in more forgiving states, and yet such states of being, a paradox, all of us on our backs, still hushed, yet deafening. Aside Teddy Roosevelt statue, who once said, quote, "This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in, if it is not a reasonably good place for all of us to live in," unquote. Do we ask forgiveness for the decades, centuries of pain, shame, disdain when freedom's brush was taken with the swipe of a pen by men who never lived with such a choice made for them coloring their body? Should vasectomies become a law for prevention or cause? You laugh. Of course not. How preposterous to think such a decision be mandated by a government body. And here lies the shadow truth. My body, myself. Your body, yourself. Our bodies, ourselves. And here I lay for you on my back. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry Lynn. Thank you. Wonderful. So we have two more audience poets. We're going a little bit over time, but we're getting closer here, and then we're going to hear from Bryan again. So we have some more to look forward to here. Next up, we have Peter Kozlowski.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, coming to you from southern Brooklyn, place called Midwood. It's a suburb of Flatbush. But this poem is from a while back I was in Hawaii. And then to take it a step further, I got it published in Australia, an online journal called the Odoliths. Anyway, it's called Jack is the one who surfed. Robert Louis Stevenson got here before me. Storytelling and gathering and chasing his shortened life. He knew Princess Ka'iolani when she was growing up and inscribed some sweet verses in her little red plush album in the shade of the big banyan tree. Not me. I got a former Miss Hawaii doing public service spots on the TV. She's pretty. But when Mark Twain was here, he hiked right out into the Kilauea caldera, up so close to the lake of lava in the crater Hale Mau Mau. He could feel the ground he was walking on start burning through his shoes. Here I am leaning on the rail in a Park Service overlook, checking my mobile device for the latest news. Jack London checked it out. Excuse me. He found himself a leper to write about, an archetypal symbol of his people's plight type leper, no less. Good work, Jack. But you know, that Hansen's disease is treatable now. We got something that isn't. They say the terrain of the big island, viewed from above facing west, kind of resembles a female torso. But if so, Mother Nature's got a lump in her breast at a spot called Pohakuloa. It's because they had to practice with that stuff somewhere before shooting it around over in Kosovo. That depleted uranium weaponry, don't you know? Rich in chemical toxicity and with ionizing radiation to boot, now scattered irretrievably on a dry altitude in a place that the local folks still think is sacred. Put that in your pipe and smoke at Somerset, Mom. You got footprints in the jungle. How about footprints in the tangle of organic polymers down on Camilo Beach? That's where they used to catch logs floating over from the Pacific Northwest. Now it's a giant landing zone for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Coffee cups from Puerto Vallarta and old DVD cases from Vancouver, plus the occasional toothbrush dropped from a cruise ship passing in the night. There's now more plastic sand on that beach than there is the old-fashioned kind. Jack London's leper was right when he saw us coming, run for the hills. They say the plague came from the commerce with Asia and the saint came to help him from Europe. He'd just as soon have done without both. Impassioned to climb up deep among the fronds and stems and leaves and petals and bleed back into the earth that had given him birth, his secreted death, one last uncolonized act. Ko'olau the leper's story was straight. Jack London is the one who got it. He could feel it in his bones like the winds in the sails of his ketch. And you know, out of all these several writers, myself included, Jack's the only one who learned to surf when he was here. Jack is the one who surfed. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderful. All right. And I believe we're at our last poet of the night, but if I missed you, I don't have you on my list here. Please just put in the chat that I missed you. I don't want to skip over anyone. It's speak now or forever hold your peace kind of a thing. Next, we're going to hear from Maureen Hadzik-Spisak. Nice to have you with us, Maureen, again. I'm going to find you again. There you are. All right. I'm highlighting you for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was a really beautiful, beautiful night of poetry. My poem is about the October moon. It was a full moon in 2020. I moved from window to window, following the moon, hoping for thin clouds, hoping for a perfect view. It is October 1st, a cool fall day and a full moon night. How the Native Americans and farmers of old welcomed this lantern in the sky. The brightness brought the family together, collecting their harvest before the first frost when winter would quietly roll in. As the early gazers looked skyward, they knew this silver white globe told them it was time to collect their crop. They also knew that that brilliant red twinkler was not a star, but a gift from the sky god. But wait, to the delight of every sky watcher, this October we'll have a second full moon. This harvest moon will be known as the harvest blue moon. It won't be blue, but it will be bright, and the farmers will be just as happy for the extra light. They can finish their harvesting and perhaps have time to celebrate with a little homemade moonshine. Now, don't forget, this is 2020, so expect the unexpected. Our harvest blue moon will light up the sky on Halloween night. And as we sing, shine on, harvest moon, we just might catch the witch as she soars past on her broom. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Wonderful. All right, everyone. So we've heard from so many inspiring poets tonight. It's been a magical evening, as it always is with our open mics. Like I was saying, we never know who we're going to hear from, the places we're going to visualize. So I'd love a big, big round of applause for all of our poets, our audience poets too. Thank you so much. We're going to hear from George Wallace for our last Walking with Whitman of this year. So George, you want to say a few words before you hear from Bryan again?
Right, I'll keep it brief. Thank you all for sticking with us and sharing your poetry. Those of you who did, those of you who are actually audience, thank you for doing that. That's an important role, to play. I would just say very simply and very straightforwardly to you that you know, that in 11 years, we've had a lot of different people read from all over the world and from very locally. And the key to it is that, in a sense, we are all Whitman's wild children as poets gathering together. And we're able to do that through Zoom in a very different way and in a very special way. So we're all family, and it's so appropriate that we're doing this so close to Thanksgiving. It feels like a Thanksgiving family gathering to me, although some of us have only met for the first time. You know, I feel like we've got a lot of long lost uncles out there that we've met for the first time from Wales and from California and from all sorts of different places, as well as much closer to home. So in a sense, we're all family, and I want to thank you for joining this family of poets. As Walt Whitman said, you know, he didn't say I encompass multitudes. He said, with a twirl of my tongue, I encompass worlds and volumes of worlds. And as all of us as Whitman's wild children gathering together, we've all twirled our tongue or listened to each other twirling our tongue and encompassing worlds of our own. So I'm thankful for that and glad that you could join us today. Next year, we're going to be doing this again. I hope you join us frequently as we walk with Whitman in 2022. Now I'll turn it over to Bryan Gallo and his fabulous music.
Thank you. I'm just gonna see if I can. All right, I think I'm. All right, cool. I think I'm in the audience view. I think it stayed that way. I'd rather see a few people while I do these tunes. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for putting this on and for being here. It's been an interesting year, 18 months at least. I used to run an open mic of my own in Patchogue on Long Island, and times are strange, but this sense of togetherness here, even online, is phenomenal. And there haven't been many opportunities. I've said that the rhythm of things have been thrown off to some people I've met or have seen recently that I've known for a long time. So it's great to have something like this. The two songs I'm going to do to end the evening, one I wrote is probably, I don't know if it's my most recent thing I wrote, but it was written in the past few weeks. And then the second song I'm going to do is a song by a friend of mine who just recently passed. So he passed unexpectedly a few weeks ago. His name is Travis McKevney, and he was a very extremely talented songwriter who I had the very fortunate opportunity to just cross paths with about 10 years ago, at least, or around 10 or 11 years ago, at an open mic at the Gray Horse Tavern in Bayport, New York. And we became fast friends and kind of bounced off each other here and there. And I took a lot from him in terms of the song Waitress on Call I played earlier tonight was a song I wrote after hearing what Travis was doing and said, I really got to try to step my game up here a little bit. And what he did rubbed off on me, and he was just a very great person overall. And he would have loved to be at an event like this tonight as well. He loved all art, music, film, poetry, literature, the whole nine. So anyway, without running the risk of talking too much, this is a song I wrote the evening that I had found out that he had passed. I got a bunch of phone calls from different people. So it was hard to sleep. And then eventually, I'm sure as some of you know, sometimes things just come in a way to help to cope or whatever. And that's why we do what we do. And it just comes out sometimes, which is the best, medicine, as they say. So this is a song called, oh my gosh, the title's escaping me, but I wrote it. It's called On With the Show. Okay. I've only played it in front of people maybe 2 or 3 times at this point. So. I loved you like you were my brother. They broke the molds, they made you. When I think of it, there is no other who could do the things the way you do. You would call me in the dead of night, quoting Coney Island, and you laugh real good. So I'm waiting for that call tonight. It'll never come, but I wish it would. Pebbles used to flow. I know you'll keep up the climb, even though it will be slow. Though you're not with us now, your final bow's been put on hold. Did you tell us to go on with the show? At a tavern where we drank for cheap, that's where we met, you and me. We became friends, we traded songs, then we shared the stage, you and me. Though you will live on in song, your pen will cease to flow. I know you'll keep up the climb, even though it'll be slow. Though you're not with us now, your final bow's been put on hold. You tell us to go on with the show. You tell us to go on with the show. Thank you, thank you. So I don't technically have that song recorded. I may have shared it to, I think, my Instagram and my Facebook pages on the musician page and my Instagram page, which if you go to bryangallo.com, you can find the buttons up top. And I may have shared it out there. I did share it to my personal page, which you're more than welcome to find that and add me here because we're all friends at this point if we've met tonight. And it did kind of take off. I did it just as a way of just getting it out there. And then it did help like other people, which I guess is what we also do as artists, is try to reach others and, you know, create the art that will move and reach and just help ourselves and help others. So Travis was a very talented writer. And I did promise after his passing to try to just get the word out about him. So I don't think he's got an official website because he was always kind of like behind in keeping up with tech. But he does have a Bandcamp page. So Travis McKeveny, McKeveny, I believe, .bandcamp.com. You can find it there. Or if you Google his name, it'll pop up, and he's on streaming sites and so on. He did co-writes with Andy Falco of the infamous String Dusters, who is they're a very known modern bluegrass band. They just had a newer song come out called Toward the Fray that you should check out. It's I wouldn't call it a protest tune, but it was a song about the current times. And so that had just come out. So that was a co-write Travis did with Andy that is now a posthumous song that Travis was involved with. Co-wrote with another writer, Pete Mancini, as well. So Travis had his hand in many things. So check him out, check his music out. I would highly suggest it. He's very literate. read a lot, wrote a lot. So I think a lot of you would appreciate his work. I'm going to sing you a song of his now to end the evening. And it's a song that I do often of his. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he would say this was a song he had written that he first felt like keeping, which I'm sure as writers, we're very used to writing down something, crinkling up the paper, throwing it in the trash bin, and getting back to something else. So it's always a victory when you decide to, just hold on to the thing. So this is a song of his called Slow Climber. I'm hanging by a tattered rope. Wind and rain will not relent. Setting down a thimble full of hope, so I can start this long ascent. Hand over hand, it's all that I can stand. With the slow climber that I am. I know you tremble at the thought, my loose grip giving way. Your kindnesses were not for naught. How can I have known today? Hand over hand, this isn't what I planned. With the slow climbing that I am. Brow sweats in my fingers ache, more and more with every inch I take. Don't know why I tried, for whose sake. And if I ever reach the top, hope that you will meet me there. These struggles are never gonna stop till I breathe in love's sweet air. Hand over hand, much you can demand of the slow climber that I am. Slow climber that I am.
Beautiful, Bryan. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
I'm
Oh,
unmuting.
all right, let's do our round of applause first. Hold on, everyone unmute. Let's first do our round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bryan actually had Travis, who he's paying tribute to tonight, join us at the birthplace. We invited Bryan, but he was busy way back when we were in person in 2019. And so he recommended Travis and he came and joined us. He was phenomenal as well, phenomenal musician. And I also remember his bio, he said that he was a gonzo haikuist, which is a great, memorable bio for sure. But I'm so happy, Bryan, that you're able to share with us and also to, pay tribute to Travis. I know it's very recent that we lost him. It's throughout the entire Long Island art scene, it's been a major loss. So
yeah, to me, it's just to just I would always share his work, even, after just meeting him about a decade ago or so. And, that's not going to change, for me at all. I'm sure that I know he too he had songs that he was just going to start working on getting recorded. So they're getting worked on. And they'll come to fruition in some way or another through some sort of demos getting fleshed out or whatever the case may be. So I know I mentioned he didn't have a full official website like a travismckebney.com, but he also had just signed with Paradiddle Records. So if you go to paradiddlerecords.com, which is a paradiddle for any percussionists out there, it's the same as the paradiddle. But you can find that, and his stuff will be listed there as well. So you can find it all there as well.
I think we're going.
Awesome, Bryan. Thank you so much. We love having you with us in person, hopefully soon as well on our stage. We're talking about hybrid events, so wonderful. All right, and let's give one more big round of applause because we had so many wonderful performances with Bryan. Just one more time, let's do it. Thank you, Bryan. All right, thank you, Bryan. All right, everyone. So a really fun, really inspiring evening we had here together tonight. I want to thank you all. As George Wallace was saying, it is like we're a Whitmonic family now, and we're coming together collectively, hopefully coming together in person as well soon. So thank you so much for your support with your presence, with your donations, and just for becoming part of this family. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll get together soon, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Caitlin.
you.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining
Thank
us.
you, Caitlin. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Wonderful.
ladies.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
And I'll see you tomorrow. Our class tomorrow. All right. Have a wonderful weekend too. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for all your creativity.
Find that leave button.